Meghan Markle and Prince Harry appeared together to give a message to the world as if anybody is listening or cares. Nevertheless, they're so shameless. They're so shameless. They still believe that they matter, that their breathing oxygen is beneficiary or beneficial, I should say, to the world when it is not. It is absolute disaster. They tried to pull this stunt and they failed miserably. I have a comment from Judy James. She is actually an expert, body language expert for The Sun, and she is breaking it all down for us to see how fake this couple is. Let's take a listen from Judy James.
Harry and Meghan's new video looks like their personal royal homage to Remembrance Day, with their sombre matching navy jackets and the focus on the poppies in their lapels. The message seems to be that if they can't be there in person, they will be there in spirit. Meghan even uses the classically regal "my husband and I" line to suggest a nod to royal status or branding. They look oven ready to appear at the service here on Sunday, although clearly that's not going to be on the cards. But there's also a very telling non-verbal message about their relationship as a couple in this video. And it's one that to me looks deliberate, pre-planned and quite neatly choreographed. The gesture comes towards the end of the film, and the key verbal prompt seems to be the word "together." This looks like Harry's cue to put one arm out and around his wife's back.
Okay, so what Judy James is talking about. So let's see this one. This particular clip is so awkward for anybody to watch. You do not have to be a body language expert. Take a look how Harry is behaving. Okay, so together, when Meghan said together, he extended his hand to show that they're together. But this is so fake, and this is what Judy James is pointing out, that Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, they wanted to come across as they're together, but the body language clue throughout this entire speech tells us a completely different story. A completely different story. Now let's take a listen a little bit more from Judy James, and then I'll add a few more things.
Body language looks rather awkward and rather contrived. The arm looks rather stiff. Their bodies are not particularly close together at that point. But as a signal to the world, it seems to imply unity and togetherness. That moment is the most telling moment of the video in terms of their relationship, because although it does look very contrived and very choreographed, and the key word is together, it's just, oh yes, that kind of wakes Harry up, and he immediately turns and puts his arm. We don't see it touching, but we can see him putting an arm out as though his hand is then on her back. And
Okay, so basically this was the moment of the whole speech where it was very obvious that Harry, he realized he was on camera and that people are watching, and that if he does not extend his arm to show us that he was actually touching Meghan Markle, then people will notice that this couple, they are not together, and that they have some big problem in the marriage, in the relationship, and that's not what Harry wants. So if you are watching this video right now, this is where Harry is faking the touch, and Meghan Markle indirectly was telling Harry that we need to fake it, at least for now, by mentioning the word together. So she was giving Harry some clue, some indication, some hint that, hey, touch me, show that we are together, even though we are not, but for the sake of our own image and brand deals and all of those things that we are still working on, we need not to be appeared separated at all. This is not what we can afford. And so all of a sudden, Harry, as Judy James is pointing out, he woke up and then he was like, yeah, I'm gonna touch you, baby, let's do it.
it looks like a very important moment in terms of projection, that, oh yeah, we're together, that is a word that applies to us. I mean, it's very hard to know what's going on in their lives. They seem to sort of have rebranding. They seem to recently have been, oh, actually not just recently either, rebranding not so much as this sort of joined at the hip couple. I call them the buy one get one free almost. Where they will turn up to either one's events together and use these displays, public displays of affection. It's almost a sort of good marketing tool, as well as being sincere, because that creates the headlines for their causes, etc. But we have been seeing for a while now two different brands occurring. It's almost like a letter Y relationship for them, where we've still got the Harry and Meghan as a double act brand, but there's been a very huge sort of parting of the ways for individual brands as well. So we've had Harry doing his thing, Meghan doing her thing.
Okay, so there is really nothing his thing, her thing, as Judy James is saying, because I do believe what she said in the beginning is true. Then what she's trying to imply here, that they're trying to create two different brands, but at the same time, what I understand is that going forward, Meghan will show up at Harry's event, and Harry will most likely show up for Meghan's event. Now, I want to take you back to what happened with Spotify, to give you an example. Spotify was a big time failure. Part of it was blamed on Prince Harry by Meghan Markle, I'm pretty sure, even though she did not make any public statement like that. But it was supposed to be that Harry would show up at Meghan's podcast if it fails miserably. For some reason, Harry did not do it. He did not show up until at the very end of it, the last guest Meghan had on the podcast. Harry all of a sudden came to the podcast, did not take part in the podcast, but he did take some picture with that particular guest, African guest. It means that Meghan at that point knew that Harry was essential for my publicity, but hey, because he did not show up, I was a complete failure. Remember, Meghan is always blaming other people for her failure. Therefore, Meghan is now realizing that, well, we need to part ways. If we are not together in terms of you helping me, then let's make it formal. Let's make it your show, my show, and then we part ways. You do your things, I do my things. Nevertheless, Meghan is not someone who will give up on this idea where she would want Harry to show up on her business or events, as Judy James mentioned. She would definitely want Harry to be with her all the time. But this is not necessarily the case with Harry. Harry is happy to be on his own because he feels much more comfortable and he doesn't need the PR from Meghan Markle. In fact, he wants to avoid any PR from Meghan Markle. We have seen what happened with the Invictus game every time Meghan showed up. The veterans, they said, we will boycott. And many channels, I think GB News also reported on this, that hundreds and thousands of veterans, they pull out from that event simply because of Meghan's inclusion. Therefore, Harry doesn't really need Meghan Markle, but Meghan needs Harry. So this technique or this ploy by Meghan Markle that, well, we are going to be two separate brand or two separate individual doing our own thing, is not going to work for her, and she knows it. But nevertheless, she is telling or trying to create this impression that still she is on her own is good enough, when we know she is not. And that is an act of desperation on her part to become successful by lying to us that we are a powerful couple. But it is not the case. Meghan is definitely a miserable one.
Got the Harry and Meghan as a double act brand, but there's been a very huge sort of parting of the ways for individual brands as well. So we've had Harry doing his thing, Meghan doing her thing, and then things like this where we get the coming together that either sees them working as a couple, or here not just working as a couple, but I think just reminding the world that you've seen Meghan doing this, you've seen Harry doing that, but look, this is the sort of nuclear couple as well. We're still there, and we're still showing very strong display of unity.
Yeah, this is the lifeline, especially for Meghan Markle, that they are together. The only time she will let Harry off the hook is once she is done with him. And when she will be done with him, well, according to the Hollywood Reporter, they said once Meghan has a brand and she is able to make money, that is the time when she will ditch Harry. Right now, if she is ditching Harry in public, not in private, in public, she will not be able to survive on her own financially. Therefore, she doesn't want him to go right away. What will happen next is obviously going to be a disaster. I mean, this couple, they're becoming a matter of joke for everyone, and they're becoming ever more miserable.